Hi, everybody. I'm Gene Valicenti. This is an NBC 10 legal debrief following a word that the verdict is in the Aaron Thomas case. And the verdict is not what the state wanted. Let's bring NBC 10 legal analyst Austin Dana is with us, also NBC 10's Gabrielle Caracciolo. She's covering it. Austin, first to you. This is not the most serious guilty verdict they could have gone with. What did they actually get him on? And in simple terms, what is he convicted of doing wrong?
So what he actually was convicted of, Gene, is 2 misdemeanor counts of battery, which is just an unwanted or offensive touching, which is different than how they had it charged. They had it charged as a sexual molestation charge, which needed more evidence showing that it was for sexual gratification or arousal. The jury didn't find that. So 2 misdemeanor charges is what he ends up with.
So the difference is a felony, a lot of jail time. He could have been locked up in prison for a long time had they gone with the more serious end. They got him on the misdemeanor, 2 misdemeanors. NBC 10's Gabrielle Caracciolo, what was the reaction when that came in?
Well, Thomas didn't show a lot of emotion during this. He kind of stood there. He seemed to take a deeper breath after those 2 initial not guilty verdicts for the felony sex crimes that he was facing. But otherwise, he didn't say anything coming outside of court. He's been pretty stone-faced this entire time. But some of the family of students who done some of this testing, they were in the court and they were definitely disappointed to hear this verdict of just the lesser battery charges and not those felony sex crimes. He won't have to register as a sex offender now.
All right. Well, and he avoids jail time, it would appear. Is that your understanding, Gabrielle? He's going to avoid jail time with this?
Not necessarily. He could face up to $1,000 fine and up to a year in jail for each of the battery charges. That's going to be at the judge's discretion. So we'll find out on June 26th, which is when the sentencing is scheduled for. It seems that could likely happen where he avoids jail time, gets some sort of suspended sentence, but it is up to the judge here.
All right, Austin, what do you think? First-time offender, as far as we know. Does he go to jail or no, he's not?
With misdemeanor charges on a first-time offender, Gene, I think it would be very rare to see him serve actual jail time here. Okay. So probably not.
All right. Was this an overcharge on the prosecution's part, in your view, Austin? Did they bite off too much? They didn't get it in the end.
They didn't get it at the end, but I don't know that it was an overcharged case to begin with. It was a hard-fought case on both ends, and the jury looked at it, and they returned the verdict that they felt was just. It was well strategized on the part of defense counsel to allow the jury to have these misdemeanor charges as kind of a split charge, where some people think he's guilty of the felony charges. Some people maybe thought he wasn't guilty of anything. So they come together and meet in the middle, and he walks on 2 misdemeanors.
Wasn't that part of pre-trial bargaining that the defense had to agree to allow for this? Gabrielle, go over that for us. How did this actually come into play, the lesser of the charge?
So on the second-degree child molestation charge, because this charge wasn't brought within a certain amount of time, they actually did waive the statute of limitations there, allowing that lesser charge to be considered by the jury. And that was done just last week, right before the jury was charged, and they went back to start their deliberations. The defense made that strategic choice to waive the statute of limitations just for the second-degree child molestation charge. It was going to be included either way on the second-degree sexual assault charge as that kind of lesser option. I actually asked defense attorney John McDonald about that as he was exiting court today, and he said he felt the need to give them an option to do something so that just in case they felt like they needed to get him somehow, if they were so offended by all of this, they could get him on a lesser charge. And that was a lot better in their view than having them kind of only have this felony charge as the option.
All right, let me ask my producer, Dan, go ahead and play whatever you have for us inside court. And right after that, play whatever you have for us outside court. And then, Austin, I'm going to ask you what's next. Go ahead.
Foreman, does the jury have a verdict?
We do.
In the matter of W2 2022-180A, State of Rhode Island versus Aaron Thomas, as to count 1, how do you find the defendant, Aaron Thomas, as to the charge beyond a reasonable doubt of second-degree child molestation, sexual assault in violation of Rhode Island general laws, to wit, hand to inner thigh or groin of?
Not guilty.
As to count 1, how do you find the defendant, Aaron Thomas, to the lesser included offense of simple battery in violation of Rhode Island general law offensive or unwanted contact of.
Guilty.
As to count 2, how do you find the defendant Aaron Thomas as to the charge beyond a reasonable doubt of second-degree child sexual assault in violation of Rhode Island general law, to wit, hand to inner thigh or groin of.
Not guilty.
As to count 2, how do you find the defendant Aaron Thomas to the lesser included offense of simple battery in violation of Rhode Island general law, offensive or unwanted contact of.
Guilty.
Mr. Foreperson, is this your true verdict?
It is.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, is as your foreperson says, so say you all.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, you're right. Stone-faced. It went his way, despite these misdemeanors could have been a lot worse. Go ahead. Do we have him outside of court? This is taken not that long ago.
At this time, Aaron is not going to make any statements because there are further proceedings, but we'd like to thank the jury for their attention, their hard work, and for their verdict. We are very satisfied that the jury saw the case as we saw it, no sexual intent whatsoever. Thank you.
Even though there's no criminal culpability, does he feel remorse for the personal aspect of this case?
There is criminal culpability. The jury found him guilty on 2 counts of battery.
On the felony counts, there's no criminal. Does he regret what happened?
I fully expect you'll hear from Aaron at sentencing. Currently scheduled for June 26.
What kind of sentence, what are the sentencing guidelines on?
There are no sentencing guidelines. It's up to the judge. It's a misdemeanor charge punishable by up to a year in prison. All right. Tim, as promised.
Thanks, appreciate
You
it.
waived one of the statutes of limitations for the misdemeanor battery charge. What was the strategy? Why did you decide to do that?
Because the jury needed a compromise. The jury needed an alternative charge, and that alternative charge was battery, and that's exactly what they compromised on.
You didn't see a way of coming away with a not guilty verdict overall. You thought they.
Well, they came away not guilty on the 2 counts that count. All right, it's the other 2 counts. If the jury wanted to find that it was an offensive or unwanted contact, so be it.
Austin, was that a risky strategy? Or was it a risky strategy on the part of the state to allow for that? In other words, this jury's going to want to get him on something. And let's give them something lesser to get him on so that they don't walk away disappointed and feel that they have to go for a felony. Who took the risk here?
You know, it's hard to say, Gene, because it's hard to say what was going on back in those deliberation rooms. And maybe it was that he would have walked on everything had the misdemeanors not been included, or maybe he would have been found guilty on both. So it's really hard to determine which side took the bigger risk here. A little bit of a risk for both.
All right. Is this appealable, by the way? Can you appeal misdemeanors, these?
I don't think we're looking at an appeal here. I think jeopardy is attached, and it is what it is. So next step is going to be sentencing.
Right. And Gabrielle, are there civil actions to come at some point? Do we expect these alleged victims to go, well, is it correct to call them victims now, since we've got them on 2 misdemeanors? Those are victims. Are the victims going to come back and sue him and sue the school district for money?
Yes and no. There are some lawsuits pending that are against the school district. He is not the subject of those lawsuits. There's also different statute of limitations for the victims in these cases. So one of them, the victim of the child molestation charge, which happened longer ago, he's actually passed that window for a civil lawsuit there. The victim in the sexual assault charge, he was a more recent graduate of North Kingstown High School. He is part of one of those lawsuits that is against the school district, school department, but he's not named as the main person in those lawsuits.
All right, Austin, philosophically, if he gets no jail time and he walks on these 2 misdemeanors, he still has been punished. He's been punished in the court of public opinion, certainly. He self-admittedly said, my reputation has been destroyed. I'll never teach again. So someone got a pound of flesh here in the end, if you just look at it from that way. Was justice done?
Right. I think it was. I think you have a jury who considered all the facts in this case. You have a man who, as he said, is probably never teaching again. He was remorseful on the stand. He was sorry for what had happened, although he said it wasn't for purposes of sexual gratification or arousal. So justice probably has been done here. I think you got to have respect for the jury's verdict in this situation.
All right, that concludes our debrief. Gabrielle, we'll look for your reporting tonight. And Austin, we'll see you in our continuing coverage of the Karen Reed case. For now, I'm Gene Valicenti, NBC 10. Enjoy the rest of your day.